Media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. We need to talk about theft today. No, I'm not talking about taxes, even though taxation is theft. We have to talk about theft in our world, our cities, our towns, where we live in our country. We have to talk about how the effect trickles down to the average consumer. What we're seeing in Canada right now is desperation. What we're seeing is a complete retaliation to Justin Trudeau's carbon tax. We've seen Jagmeet Singh come out and essentially say that it's always about filthy rich CEOs and it's always about them taking their top dollar and giving poor quality while preying on the innocence of those, blaming it on the carbon tax. We've seen Pierre say he wants to axe the tax so that things are more affordable. At the end of the day, I can tell you right now that while I do not shop at Loblaws or the Real Canadian Superstore, what I've noticed on that end is that I ducked into one not too long ago out of convenience and decided, I'll pick up some groceries. And I can tell you right now, compared to shopping for my family at a place like Costco and buying up in bulk, or even going to places that are seen as a no-no zone like Walmart, Loblaws, their prices in Calgary, at least, are insane these days. I can tell you that the groceries that I picked up while there was almost a quarter of what I normally buy in a week from a place like Walmart. Same brands, same foods, and the price was almost double. And this is a quarter of what I normally pick up. Completely flabbergasted. Blew my mind. So I do understand where people are starting to draw the conclusions of, hey, these guys are taking a profit. But what they don't realize is that when you do things like theft, when people are stealing now because people are finding it completely unaffordable. I've heard a report since from Harrison Faulkner that seniors are now being labeled as the highest arrested group of individuals when it comes to statistics on food theft because they simply can't afford to live. They can't afford to eat. My heart goes out to those people. Because they can't afford to eat. But what you're seeing right now, and I want to showcase this, Harrison Faulkner brought this up to light on his recent video talking about this. While you have temporary foreign workers coming in and stealing from our food banks, while you have them taking advantage of Canada's kindness, you now have Marxists and communists who vote in communist practices. Keep in mind that this guy on camera, I mean, just looking at him, he's the poster child for social justice topics. You can tell right now that this is somebody who would support the NDP, someone who would definitely support the Liberals. And please don't say, oh, you're judging, you're too judgy. This is what I hear amongst the young crowd these days is why can I not afford a house? Why can I not afford my groceries? Why can't I afford to put gas in my car? Why do I have to live at home with my parents forever? Well, it's because you're uneducated, and when you go to the polls, you vote on a popularity contest. You don't vote on policy. This is the problem now, is that they're realizing their choices have consequences. This comedic podcast, again, showing the intelligence level of this individual, coming out and admitting to stealing from Galen Weston. Let's take a look.
I'm poor. Everyone's poor. We're all poor. Everything is expensive. I have started stealing, though.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, Galen Weston.
I've heard of friends either just ringing out everything is bananas. 4011, that's the code for it. The grocery store code, and you're typing it in. I've also heard of people grabbing the little paper bags that you put mushrooms in and filling it with fancy cheese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never use a basket.
Oh.
Always use a tote bag. So you fill up the tote bag, you get to the self-checkout, you just empty the tote bag. Oops, did I leave the most expensive item in there and forget to pay for it?
Yeah.
Like, you realize when you're at home, of course.
Right.
But then it's too far to go back.
That's right. How ridiculous is it that cost of living in Canada's got so bad that we're just sitting here on a comedy podcast, just fully just being like, 15 years ago, people would be like, you deserve to go to jail. That is so untactful. Now everyone's like, fuck yeah.
I know.
Get him. Yeah.
I know. It's not even about the excitement. Because before, when I would steal, it would just be like, this is exciting. I'm doing something wrong. Now it's like, I actually will die if I don't steal this chicken.
I will actually cease to exist if I don't steal this chicken. You see, this is a comedy podcast. So I'm assuming with their fancy microphones and equipment that they can afford to buy groceries. Again, that's an assumption. You have them saying, oh, it used to be fun, like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. Well, you shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. But now saying, well, you can put expensive cheeses in the bags that you put your mushrooms in, or you can bring in a tote bag and accidentally forget to scan the most expensive item in your bag, and oh, conveniently, it's too much to go back. Well, of course, you're knowledgeably stealing. We have another example here, and I really wanted to highlight this one. Lowlife who deserves to be publicly shamed and called out for, then promptly booted from Canada. This genius is online proudly teaching his fellow cheapskates how to scam a grocery store by swapping stickers on different varieties of apples. Truly a masterclass in pettiness. Keep in mind, there's no English dialogue in this video, but you can tell what's going on here.
મને કભી ગુજરાતી મળે ને કે એ અગર સેવિંગ કેમનું થાય તને જોવું હોય ને તો બતાવું કે 249 વાળું છે અને 349 વાળું છે તો કશું કરવાનું નહીં આ 249 વાળાનું સ્ટીકર લેવાનું અને આ 349 વાળાનું કાર્ડ નાખવાનું અને તો એ આગળ સ્ટીકર મારી દેવાનું અને પછી આ તું લઈ લઉં તો 249 માં પડ્યા.
Yeah, he looks like he's so proud of himself he got a deal at $2.49. Here's the problem with this. I've always said that self-checkouts are one of the biggest problems when it comes to retail, especially from a strategic standpoint when you talk about shrinkage. No, we're not talking about George Costanza saying, I was in the pool. We're talking about shrinkage in terms of loss of inventory, loss of product. Stores every year go through what's called shrinkage, and it used to statistically mean when they looked at their numbers that employees were mostly responsible for any kind of loss because of in-store thefts that they would then commit because of their low wages. Stores have, like Walmart in particular, and I know I mentioned them earlier in this video, have weeded out a lot of paid by the hour employees for the sake of putting two people watching multiple self-checkout machines, to which I personally don't approve of them. I don't like them, but it opens up the door for people to steal. The problem here with these so-called morons sitting on their podcast, not only exposing themselves on camera saying, hey, I'm stealing, which really poses a risk the next time they go shopping if this is a widely watched podcast, but admitting to stealing publicly. What they don't realize, while they complain about the communist regime of Justin Trudeau, the Marxist regime of Justin Trudeau, and the cost of food, is that when you're stealing all the time, the cost of food in turn goes up because these retailers have to cover their losses. They already throw out mass amounts of produce and meat that goes bad, that spoils, that they overstock. But when you steal from a retailer, they have to make up those losses. So while you're cleverly bringing in your tote bags, while this, I'm assuming, new landed immigrant, because he's not speaking English, or a gimme-grant, as we've started calling them on the channel here, goes and swaps stickers, that's an actual crime. Price tag switching is an actual crime. It is punishable by law. It is not just a fine, it is a mandatory court appearance. I know because I know somebody who was involved in price tag swapping at one point and had to go to court. And I can tell you that the courts were not kind to them in the end. In fact, they had to jump through some hoops to get back to normal society, and they still had a hard time finding a job moving forward in society. And because every time you fill out a job application in Canada, it has to say, were you ever convicted of a crime or offense? Yes. They won't convict this person, though, because of Justin Trudeau's laxed catch and release laws. And again, nobody's going to pass up the opportunity for diversity hire. So this guy will go on stealing apples and giving his smarmy little looks on camera thinking he's so brilliant, while the rest of us pick up the check. Much like the food bank issue when it comes to temporary foreign workers, these guys are taking advantage of a system. They're taking advantage of the fact that they can get away with pocketing these items one at a time. Maybe don't buy expensive cheeses. Maybe don't buy chicken. I don't know about you, but anytime we buy chicken in this house, it has to be when it's on sale. It's once in a blue moon. It is not very often, merely because even for a family of 5, it's basically unaffordable. Now, I can tell you that as somebody who makes his living on YouTube and somebody who has a full-time family member out there in the workforce, that we bring in an average income. I can tell you that when we go grocery shopping, if we can't afford things, we don't steal them. We merely cut back and decide maybe it's better we eat some craft dinner this week and save a few bucks rather than getting expensive cheeses and risking stealing them and raising the price for everybody else who's shopping in the store on the products that they already can't afford under Justin Trudeau's regime. Let me know what you guys think down below. I personally would hope that if anybody knows the people of this podcast, knows where this podcast is from, drop it down in the comments below. I would sure like to expose them. I would like to get the word out in their local communities that they're in there stealing whenever they go shopping. I think it's completely disrespectful, low class. If you come to this country and you steal, you should be back on a plane on your way back to the country that you came from, where sometimes they have barbaric measures for those who steal to ensure they don't do it again. You're a guest in our country. If you can't afford to be here, get out and make it more affordable for the rest of us. That's the way I see it. Let me know how you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're clicking that subscribe button, you're also hitting your bell for notifications to join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, my live streaming show, where I sit down with not only you guys, the community, but also my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe. We go over everything that's happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead that we're aware of, and some back and forth stories within the community. It's always a fun time. We look forward to chatting with each and every one of you in those live streams starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central every Friday here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.